Salad dressing is said to date back thousands of years. The Chinese were putting soy sauce on vegetables as far back as 5,000 years ago, but I'll be focusing on oil and vinegar dressings. The ancient Babylonians used oil and vinegar with spices on salads, and so did the ancient Romans and ancient Egyptians, often with spices imported from Asia. The ways of mixing them up, spices you can either add or omit or change the ratio of, is pretty much endless, but there is a basic formula to start from. So Miki. I'm Amy, and I make videos about ancient language and culture, and today we're going to be talking about salad dressing. I will put a link to a PDF file in the video description going through the original Latin version of the recipe, but in general, Apicius doesn't give you amounts. He assumes you already know or can guess them, and there are multiple versions, and it's really just a guideline and not a strict recipe to follow word for word. I will also put some links to translations of Apicius in the description, and more can be found at internetkindness.com or on the YouTube channel. Oil and vinegar dressing is an emulsion, which means it's two or more liquids that don't normally mix. That's why you shake up the bottle of Italian or Greek dressing. It mixes them up, more or less, well enough to put on your food anyway. Some have fish ingredients like anchovies or garum, some don't. Some have honey or sugar, some don't. Some have mustard, and others don't, and so on. The History Guy did a good video on Caesar salad, which has nothing to do with Julius Caesar. What is salad dressing? I have some oil and vinegar here. Quidus jus acatoriorum. I was looking through Apicius. I have this one too. Now, someone had mentioned it on Facebook that it has a lot of notes and things in the back, and that's good. So I also have, I don't know where the other one is, an English translation. This one's in German. Ne Lactucae Laedant. What is that about? You know? It's like, after watching some medical shows, I feel like maybe it's the snails and slugs that carry horrible rat lungworm diseases if you don't wash your produce enough. Like, maybe that's how the lettuce harmed you. But I generally come from a point where I'm not expecting the salad to harm me, so I don't know. I thought maybe it was just indigestion. So, I'm not really sure what this is talking about. But the fact is that he's just talking about the things you put on a salad. And he's also talking about, taking a spoonful of it, like after a meal or something, and this is where I got the idea that, I mean, is it for indigestion or, you know? But he also talks about, you know, the same mixtures and herbs and spices and things, and putting them on your salad and on, you know, other foods and things. So that's why I've got this. It's got like 3 parts of olive oil and 1 part of red wine vinegar. So that's what we're starting out with. This is, you know, our base here. It's more useful to actually know what's in these seasonings and understanding the component parts of the salad dressing. You know, if you want to make your own, you know, whether it's because you want, you know, specific ingredients, a specific taste, or you want to recreate something that you can't find anymore, or somebody else's recipe. There are many reasons to make your own. Jus acatoriorum. Salad dressings can be divided into 2 different groups. There are the oil and vinegar types, and then there are the creamy types. And the main difference is that the creamy types, of course, have dairy ingredients in them, but we're not going to be talking about those today. We're talking about vinaigrettes only. So we're focusing on oil and vinegar emulsions. These are separated now. And you also have to realize that there are different types of vinegar, and which ones you use is totally up to you and your specific preferences, or that of your family or whoever you're cooking for. I like red wine vinegar a lot, and I've also used white wine vinegar, apple cider vinegar, Japanese rice vinegars. There are different types of balsamic vinegar as well, light and dark with different flavors, and that's why experimentation can be fun. My uncle, who's a chef, says the regular white vinegar is for cleaning and should not be eaten. But again, that depends on your preferences. So taste the vinegars. They will be adding your acidic and tangy part to your dressing. Sometimes lemon and lime juices are also used for this in dressings. And then there are spices. I had a roommate from South Korea who hated cumin, and I would have left that out of cooking for her, for example. But I like it. And it was used in a lot of ancient Roman dishes. And then there was garlic, which is in the same family as onions. And sometimes garlic and onion powders are used in the dressings, depending on what you have. You know, whether you're chopping up some onions or, crushing garlic. And likewise with the ginger, since I started buying fresh ginger root, I think that's so good that, and you just grate it on a cheese grater, and you put a little bit in there. And it tastes so much better than the powdered ginger that you buy. Substitution is also a part of cooking, so reading Apicius can be helpful in this, like what to do when you don't have a recipe for something. So it's a learning process. Use this, use that in another way. Many of the recipes are called elitaire. Another way, another way, another way, another way of doing this. So the usual amount is 3 parts of oil and 1 part of vinegar. So mustard can act as an emulsifier, and it adds flavor. I'm a big fan of mustard powder. Mustard seeds, there are different kinds of mustard. So like Dijon mustard, I think, is made of a black mustard seed, and that's different from the yellow mustards. So you're going to have different flavor profiles in there as well. And salt and pepper are then also mixed in. I like to use a pepper grinder because it gives more of the peppery aroma. I think it just like goes out into the air or something. I don't know. With the already ground up pepper. And you can use different oils, but like sunflower or peanut oil, grapeseed oil, but I use olive oil myself. In Japan and China, sesame oil is used more, and that also has a different flavor. I've used that before, as well as putting miso as a salt component in there. Rather than the salt, you can use miso or doenjang, which is Korean, or whatever you have on hand to make a dressing. The oils add the fat component to the dressing. Oil and vinegar don't mix well, which is why you have to shake or stir them to get an even amount of all the ingredients. Some dressings also have sweetness. In ancient times, this might have been from must, which was cooked down grapes with the seeds and skins in them. And this could be used as a sweetener, or honey is used. I stick honey here. So I'll use that today. They didn't have cane sugar, so the sweetness would come either from the fruits or the honey. And lead. But that kills you, so don't do that. This is another thing we've learned over the centuries that we probably shouldn't do. How heavy metals deposit in the body. Knowledge builds on what came before. And sometimes raspberries are used in dressing, raspberry vinaigrettes. So if you're into that, or sometimes you want a sweet dressing and sometimes you don't want a sweet dressing. So what we have so far is we choose an oil, and I use olive oil, 3 parts to 1 part of vinegar. And you choose the type of vinegar based on your taste preferences. Again, I like red wine vinegar, but I've used many. And that is your liquid base, has elements of fat and acidity. So now, what do you want to do with it? So for something like Italian dressing or Greek dressings, and I already made a video on Greek salad with something like this. I always liked wishbone dressings. I would add a bit of onions and garlic, fresh or powders, depending on what you have. Then you ask yourself, do you like ginger or not? Freshly grated ginger is a nice kick. Otherwise, forget it. It's okay. Salt and pepper are important. And mustard. You can either have the mustard or not have the mustard. Do you like mustard or not? You don't want to add too much mustard. It's not, a mustard salad, but it adds some nice flavor to it. And again, if it's, it can be from a bottle, it could be the mustard powder. And this is why it's called the culinary arts. You need to practice things, try things out. And that's part of the process, making mistakes and finding out what works, what doesn't, what you like and what you don't like. And for spiciness, you can also add pepper. Whether it's black pepper, hot pepper, I use Korean gochugaru, red pepper flakes, or any red pepper flakes are good. If you want it, again. So don't be afraid, but the more spices and recipes you're exposed to, the more potentially interesting and tasty your food can be, and the more varied as well. Some people add cheese to the dressing, and sometimes this is considered part of the salad. Some people don't like cheese. It doesn't matter, it's a preference thing. There is no one proper way of making salad dressing. These are just guidelines and options. But they've been making salad dressing, in this way for thousands of years. So oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, herbs, spices. Do you want mustard or not want mustard? Do you want sweetness or not? They didn't have sugar, but you can use sugar if that's what you have. I will use honey here. Garlic. Now I just went into the kitchen and I added the spices. Add a little more vinegar. I wasn't sure. No. So, and I made a salad. And because oil and vinegar don't mix, we have to shake it. I use lots of mustard. It tastes like salad. But yeah, hopefully no one is suffering from the salad. Wash your produce so you don't get any rat lungworms. Feel free to leave your comments. Leave your experiences in the comments, friends. Many olives. That's an important part. Holy tea, Miki.